Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everybody. For all those that plan on participating, give you guys a second, get those cameras on, those audios going. I'll start chit-chatting with you guys just for, about 4 minutes or so as we allow everybody to get home from work and get on our Zoom meeting. So just start talking to some of you guys. Start off with Marlene. What's up, Marlene? How you doing?
It'd be better.
Yeah. We're not seeing each other under the best of circumstances. Yeah.
No, no, um, but here we are. So it's
Talk to me. How you feeling? Like, what are the emotions? What is the past 72 hours been for you? Yeah. Catch me up to
uh, yeah. So obviously initially it's like, you know, punch in the gut when you see that. I didn't expect that fail, I just expected her just to
it's
I
so aggressive, isn't it?
so aggressive. It's just like, wow. So I didn't expect that. So that was kind of a blow. And sad, angry, all those things. You start questioning yourself and where did I go wrong? What did I do? Um, Taking all this, blame for it. So that was rough. And then the feelings start to like set in and you're like, you start to accept the fact. So I'm kind of there. I'm at that point where I've accepted the fact and I'm wanting to move forward at this point. So it's my
Yeah.
first shot. And let's keep going. I don't have, there's not much else to say about it. So
Okay. I mean, well, I will tell you from my years of experience with this that sounds like the normal, emotional roller coaster. And it's good. The one thing that is a big message of what we're going to talk about today is right that you have to process like your emotions when you're going in as a repeater. And, it's just like anything else in life that it's like a challenge that you have to take multiple attempts at. We're going to be using a boxing analogy in a lot of today's session and presentation. Just think about it, if a boxer, going against a fighter that they keep losing to, but it's like you got to keep getting in the ring and keep giving it all you got. So that sounds really good, Marlene. All things considered, obviously, this, as you mentioned, wasn't the ideal result. It was a little harsh the way that it was communicated, but it is a very, at this stage, normal process. The bar passage rate for February was what, 32%. Um,
mhm.
so it's just like it's the unfortunate reality. So we're gonna do what one normally does in this situation, which is like process, assess, and then get into, all right, how can I dissect what I need to work on, create an attack plan, and get back in the ring. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And with that said, it's heading into the 7:05 mark. So we'll go ahead and get started. And for all the familiar faces I see in there, what's up, everybody? And to all the new faces, welcome. This is the I didn't pass, now what, where this is essentially twofold, right? Where a big chunk of what we're going to do today is just try to get everybody into a great place mentally, where they feel a little bit better to move forward with their studying, and hopefully give you guys some tools on how to create that custom attack plan for yourself. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and jump into our presentation for the day. Okay, so I didn't pass the bar exam. Now what? All right, there's 3 steps to Esquire. 1, pick yourself up. 2, come up with an attack plan. And 3, execute and pass the bar exam. Okay, so first one, pick yourself up. And hopefully we all know who this is right here. I told you we're going to be using a boxing analogy. Marlene, I'm going to take some street cred away from you if you don't know who that is. Can you tell me who that is?
Mr. Muhammad Ali.
Yes. Yeah. Look, when you're in the hot seat, you unsure. Mr. Muhammad. Yep, that is Muhammad Ali himself, one of the greatest. And as we see here, man, even the greatest get knocked down, right? So first thing up is get off the mat, pick yourself up. So just a quick little timeline of, what your next steps are. So you got the results on Friday. Hopefully, just like what Marlene was saying, we all had an opportunity over the weekend to process these results. For all of us, are we going to be done processing these results in that one weekend? Absolutely not. So give yourself some grace, right? Try to use the rest of this week to process those results, and try to do it in that time frame. But for some of us, it's going to be an ongoing process throughout the next study period, and you just want to do as much as you can, as much as you can, when you have the opportunity. But don't neglect that. That's the thing. It's like sometimes you don't process at all and you don't focus on processing it, but it just keeps eating at you and it prevents you from performing the next go round. So processing is important. Next, today we have the I didn't pass now what event. So that's where we're at. So again, you have 1 week to process your emotions, reconnect with your why, right? So real quick, in one sentence, Mamta, why are you doing this? Why are you wanting to be an attorney?
I want to be an attorney because I worked so damn hard for it.
There you go,
3
right?
years. Actually, no. What is it? 4 years now. You go to school for 3 years and then you go through like multiple cycles of the bar. So it ends up being 4 years long of waiting. I fucking want it now.
I want it. I deserve it. It's a better life for me, my family, my parents, my spouse, my kids, whatever it may be. There's a reason why you guys are going through this pain, through this challenging process. So get back into your why, because that always pushes us, and then make an attack plan, which again, I'm going to hopefully help with today. And then starting next Monday, we should all be getting back into a flow with bar prep. All right. Legally Fits program starts on the 15th. Other programs may start on the same day or around that time frame. So yeah, then it's time to get back into the groove of things. So we want to start here with own your story, right? Not passing does not equal never passing. Don't forget that most people take the bar exam more than once. Own your story and know that it'll feature a person that displayed perseverance and determination to accomplish their goal, right? So you see here a list of very familiar faces: Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton. To the left of that is Judge Eric Taylor, who was the presiding judge of LA Superior Court. Right. So some, high titled individuals that took this exam more than once. And so this is not an indicator of how successful you're going to be in your career or anything like that. This is just a test that, again, we're going to take again. So own your story with pride. And you see there on the very right, we have our infamous Kim Kardashian. Even she took the baby bar exam more than once. So look, life will be okay. All right, so the next step is enter this with confidence. Give me a second. Let me move this. There we go. Enter the next round with confidence. The reality is you are not starting from scratch. You are building on top of all the work that you've put in the previous time. So the knowledge you learned, contracts, property, con law, whatever it was, the clarity in that, like, oh, this is how I study, or this is what this area of law means. And the skills, how to do practice essays, how to do PTs, multiple choice, etc. Everybody has a various set of skills, clarity, and knowledge they got from the last time. Make sure you realize and you remember to pick up from where you left off. Okay. So a lot of times, naturally, when you don't pass the exam, you're thinking like, all right, I'm starting over from scratch. Like, here we go. And it's like, no, you're not starting over from scratch. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of, dusting off the cobwebs and getting back into it. But absolutely not. You want to bring in what you've learned. All right. Next. So that is picking yourself up. All right. Now we're going to talk about the attack plan. This is the meat of today's session and really getting into how do we figure out what to do next. So the first thing I want to talk about are some of these popular questions that students present. And again, this is going to be obviously a little bit of a Legally Fit plug, undeniably, but at the same time, this is really here to answer and give you some of the insight on things you should be considering and figuring out what's best for you. So first off, same company versus new company. All right. So for the same company, the pros are you are familiar with materials of that company. You're familiar with the approach. So if there's a sense of familiarity there and you liked it, then that's good. Also, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So right, with the program that you took, whether or not it was fitting your needs or not. And if the program was good, it gave me everything that I needed, then by all means, stick with whatever program that was. However, if you did take a program where you felt like it was a little broke, then the solution there would absolutely be to fix it, not kind of just stick it out with it because they gave you a free recourse or anything like that, but get the resources and program that's going to push you over the edge. Now, what about a new company? Some of the pros there could be improved materials. It could be an improved approach to studying. It also could be a fresh program for a fresh start if you're struggling with kind of getting back into the groove of studying and something new is going to shake that up for you. And then the last one is the con is making sure you pick the right company. So by going into that, the con of going with the new company is just getting back into that world of shopping around. All right. So those are some of the considerations for same company versus new company. Each person's scenario is going to be unique. And so these are individual questions and answers for you, right? You could have come from Barbary before, and now you're looking for something different, or you could have come from, let's say, Kaplan, and you love Kaplan, so you want to stick with them. So assess your options. Before we move on from same company versus new company, any questions that I can answer specifically to that consideration? All right, so we'll keep it moving. So next you have company versus private tutor. So for the company, pro is full coverage, more affordable, more materials. The negative is could be a little bit more cookie cutter of a program, no guidance, no human interaction, and no personalized attention. All right. On the private tutor side, the pro is personalized attention, face-to-face / Zoom sessions, alternative approach. And then one of the cons in the world of private tutors is sometimes these specialists don't provide full coverage that you need for bar prep. It can be costly, right? And then too alternative in their methods, and also they could have limited materials. All things to consider, right? It depends on where you're at. And we're going to go into some score breakdowns and some score sheets later on. And we could talk about in specific situations when private tutors are going to be a better suit. But overall, my general approach is take a program because you need a schedule and a system a lot of times that a private tutor won't give, and then look to add on private tutor if you either need help identifying your issues or you need help on the execution of fixing those issues. Private tutors can be beneficial for those. And then quickly on the Legally Fit hybrid approach, it's a hybrid between company and private tutor for those that are new to Legally Fit here and have never experienced us. We are trying to achieve the best of both worlds, which we think we do. We have live workshops this upcoming bar prep that'll be 2 to 4 times a week. There's going to be personalized attention that comes with that in the form of office hours, essay grading. You have full coverage for every portion of the exam, robust materials, and it's a traditional approach, but elevated, right? So it's nothing too alternative. We're not telling you to do yoga before every MBE or anything crazy like that, but we do take a modern approach to teaching the law and to studying that we believe is more effective. Okay. All right, so let's start getting into some recommendations based off of your score. So if you were 25 points or less, that is a category that I call like you were right there. Based off of the arbitrary nature of this exam, right? You could have possibly had a different grader on some of those essays and PTs, and maybe you could have passed, right? That's how arbitrary the scoring can be on the written portion. And so in that situation, it's recommended that you do a bar prep program again. For private coaching, it's why not? You don't need to, but it doesn't hurt to help in that beginning diagnose what you can do to make those improvements. And then maybe a session in the middle and the end to see how your progress is going. And to, again, at the end, give some last minute tips on how you can like knock it out and get it done. Is it absolutely recommended? Absolutely not, but it is a why not if you have the space, time, and budget for it. For those people that were almost there, as you see, this is the only scenario where self-study is what I say is optional. Outside of that, I don't think you should self-study in any other situation, just because, as Mamta said, right, like the way that this whole bar cycle works is that it's too much on the line to, not give yourself the best shot at passing. And so self-study is a little bit more of a risky route, and we don't recommend that if you're more than 26 points away. So looking at that 26 to 90 point range, Again, a bar prep program is recommended. At that point, private coaching is recommended at least once a week to really get into the weeds of diagnosing and executing to fix the issues that you're having. And then if you're over 91 points, right, there's a significant jump that you need to make. And it's strongly recommended that you implement private coaching, whether that's with Legally Fit or another private tutor out there. Get some personalized attention if you're more than 91 points off. Okay, let's talk about self-study tips. All right. So again, only an option for students in that just, almost made it range, but you also need to be disciplined and self-motivated. You, right? When you wake up and you look yourself in the mirror, if you're the type that's like, all right, I got this myself, I'm going to get it done. Or do I need a little bit more of a hand holding or accountability person to like keep me in check? If you are going to self-study, make sure you set yourself up for success with a clear schedule, all right, reliable materials, and a plan for keeping yourself accountable. So you still need those checks in. So maybe that's your spouse, maybe that's your parent, right? Whoever it may be, if somebody of like, hey, can you please kind of like, check in on me here and there, or make sure I'm hitting these metrics by these dates, right? However you're, most motivated, find that way to motivate yourself to hit these benchmarks as you go through. Now, going into self-study, it's very important to make sure you avoid the materials buffet. And this message goes to anybody, honestly, whether you're self-studying or doing a program. It is very common and detrimental when a student is trying to use materials from so many different sources. I'm using Critical Pass flashcards. I'm using baressays.com. I'm using Kaplan, outlines, Barbary materials, and Legally Fit, video lectures. And it's just like, it's all over the place, right? So I'm a big fan of choosing a program that has everything you need, and it should be a program where all their stuff is comprehensive and cohesive and fits together, and stick with that. All right. If you are taking more of a like buffet approach, that's fine. Let's say you're not going with the program, and let's say you want to do Adapt-A-Bar for MBEs, you want to do baressays.com for your essay portion, right? Then you can kind of put together your own kind of, makeshift bar prep program by getting supplements that fit these categories, but make sure you don't get a bunch of stuff that overlaps that you're then kind of stressed out trying to use it all. All right. So those are self-study tips. I'm going to go through the rest of this and I'll pause for questions in a second. So next is creating your custom attack plan. Okay. So this is where you want to figure out, as a repeat taker who has done this, what are the things that you need to do to put you in the best position to pass? First, read and dissect your scores. All right. Step one to doing that is identify which portion or portions of the exam need significant improvement: essays, MBEs, and or the PT. And then step two, which you're going to be the best person to do this, but again, private tutors and coaches can help. You want to assess whether your low performance is due to issues with understanding the law, poor test taking skills, or just simple insufficient practice. All right. And then you want to adjust your schedule, but do not overcorrect. So what happens here is, let's say a student, got a scaled score of 1400 on the essay, which is just 10 points over the passing score of a 1390. So it's like, okay, cool. I did decent on my essays. I did solid enough. And then let's say they got a 1300 on their MBE. So, all right, I need to improve by 90 scaled points on my MBE. In that case, let's go with Nikki. Nikki, what would overcorrecting be in that scenario, right? 1400 on the essay scale, 1300 on the MBE. What would overcorrecting be?
You only practice the MBE.
And then what risk does that then run?
Then you do poorly on the essays.
Exactly, right? And I only tell you stories if I've experienced and seen this story, and that's 100% what has happened, where what was your strength now becomes your weakness because you overcorrected. So that's what I'm here for, to help in today's session. Again, is to kind of answer those questions. And, we're going to figure out what are some common approaches to handling that. But again, don't overcorrect. Most advice, as you're going to see when we break down these scores, is that you have to still have a balanced approach, but you need to be mindful when you need to be intentional about your weaknesses and how you improve. So it's more so adjusting your study approach and slight adjustments in your time allotment, but it's more so in your intentionality. All right. So when you adjust your schedule, either you're going to have a program that you're following and you can make slight adjustments to that. So for all those that are doing Legally Fit, we'll give you a schedule. And then once you create your custom attack plan, you can make these like slight adjustments to it based off of what you need. Or if you're going to do a self-study, you can create your custom attack plan, your custom schedule from scratch. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some common solutions. All right. Understanding the law. So if understanding the law is something that you identify as an area where you need to improve, the importance is on choosing the right resources, the right program, not adjusting the schedule. Need to review all subjects, slight adjustments are okay. So again, if it was like I did really poorly on the con law, multiple choice and the con law essay, it's about making sure, one, you're choosing the right company, and then within the company, make sure you're leaning on the right materials that best serve you in understanding that. So if you're an auditory learner, lean into the videos. If you're a kinesthetic learner, lean into the hypo. So figure out what for you is going to actually help that information stick. All right, what about poor test taking skills? First, identify where you struggle. Is it reading comprehension, issue spotting, rule memorization, thorough analysis, time management? Oftentimes it's a combination of multiple things, but see if you can even allocate a sense of like priority on what you struggle with the most. So figure out those struggle points. And then next, it's mindfully work on these weaknesses when you do assigned practice problems. All right, so this is what I'm talking about being intentional. Let's see if we can kind of do an example. Let's go with Marlene. Marlene, we won't go to the point of you having to give us, exactly what your assessment is. But if you're looking at this list and you just saw one of these things that you needed to improve on, which one comes to mind out of that list right there in the parentheses?
Issue spotting.
Issue spotting. All right. So when I say you want to be very mindful and intentional when you have certain things you want to work on, it means when Marlene is about to do a practice essay, it's not just like, all right, here we go, practice essay time. Let me go through it. Let me read. Let me go. Let me read through the problem, let me outline, et cetera, just going through the motions. It's having let's say a Post-it note reminder on her computer that says, slow down when issue spotting. It's when starting that essay, she is going to read the fact pattern, try to issue spot everything on her own. And then before she starts writing, she's going to review a cut sheet or a sample answer to see if she spotted all the issues. And then again, knowing that this is where she needs improvement, instead of just like simply glancing at that list and doing a quick, like, okay, missed that. Okay, cool. Move on in 5 minutes. She's going to slow down and be intentional there. And like, I'm not moving on from this section until I understand why everything was triggered here, right? And that's that practice of not going as fast sometimes as we may want to, but slowing down in an intentional way for where we need to improve. And I mean, and if that's not a lesson for life, I don't know what is. And that's just something to apply to just everyday things, right? It's the same thing for me in doing these sessions for you guys, right? This whole pitch deck that I put together. How easy would it be and quick for me to just not have a slide deck for you guys, hop on here and just talk to you guys through all of this. And sometimes, it'll be better than other times because I don't have something to follow. But it's like, no, let me sit down, let me think through this and put it all out. So taking that extra time to be intentional for something that'll set you up for success is something that you constantly have to do, as opposed to the mentality, right? Which when you don't process your emotions and you're mad about studying again, you're just like, all right, I got to do these questions. Like, let me go through it. And you're just zipping through it to almost say you did it, but you're not being intentional with what you've identified as your weaknesses. So keep that in mind. All right, next is insufficient practice. All right, so let me go to somebody new here. Let me go to Kanja. What's up, Kanja?
Hey, what's up?
I hate to see you in here
I
too.
hate to be here too.
But it's good to see you. I will say
Yeah,
that.
it's good to have the grit and grind fam here. I feel
Yeah.
like we're all in this together.
There we go. Okay, so talk to me. I want to ask you, um, how many practice essays did you do last time? I want you to be honest. How many do you feel like you did?
I feel like I was like pretty spot on like our goal. I don't remember the exact number, but I definitely did like over like 100 essays. Like I for surely read through them, but as far as insufficient practice, I know I kind of like did not meet the mark with my MBEs, and that was reflective on my bar score.
Okay, so I should have asked you, okay, instead the MBEs, and there it is, right? So I was talking to a gentleman today who called me. He's been out of the bar exam for about 3 years, and he was interested in coming today and possibly studying for the July. And he's working, he has kids, and he was like, I'm thinking about taking the July and I want to go. I can study 2 hours a day, between now and July. And I said, yeah, brother, that's absolutely not gonna cut it, right? Because, and this is all to the point, Kendra, to tie it all together, there's just certain metrics with this stuff where hitting these certain benchmarks are what's reflective of passing students. And you want to be hitting at least 2,200 MBEs, 100 essays, and 5 to 7 PTs. So for all those that know this last go round, they did not hit those metrics, just remember you're then essentially automatically in the danger zone. You're automatically in the danger zone if you're not hitting these metrics. So if we know that, we're going to come into this bar prep making sure, and at least in Kendra's case, we're going to focus on the MBEs. If for another student, they only did 2 PTs last time and scored a 50, I know I need to hit that 5 to 7. So obviously focus on what you didn't hit, but of course we have to spread out our attention all over the place. Okay, so those are the common solutions. So now we're going to open it up to questions. And not only am I going to take questions right now on, how should you customize your attack plan, et cetera, we're going to open this part up to if anybody wants to provide their score sheet, and I'll allow screen share. If anybody wants to provide their sheet, I can show you guys how to dissect it. We can do up to 3 students in today's session, and students can learn from the dissection of others so they can go along and do that for their own score sheet. And if nobody wants to share their score sheet publicly, which we totally understand, but there's also no shame in it, right? We're all in the same boat. I do have 3 score sheets that I've received that I've taken off the names that we can go through anonymously as well. So yeah, I'll pause there for a quick second to see if there's any questions and or people who want to share their score sheets. Yeah, Kendra, I'll start with you.
So I have a quick question. I don't have my score sheet available to share. I'm considering taking a little break, and I want to take the exam next February if possible. Can you make time later on this call to just discuss what a potential game plan would look like for those of us who want to take the February exam?
Got it, definitely. And I appreciate that. We'll put a pin in that and circle to like what that looks like. And yes, we can chat on that. Awesome.
Thanks.
Of course. Mamta?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I wanted to share my score sheet.
Okay, awesome. And then any other quick questions before we start jumping into score sheets?
Not for now.
Actually, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. I actually do have a question.
Awesome.
So I know that you had just spoken to someone about not having enough time to study each day. The gentleman you said who could only dedicate 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the issue that I'm running into, just because I did take off time from my job to study for the bar in February, and I won't be able to do that because there is a limit of how much time we can take off. So I will absolutely have to be working 8 hours a day throughout bar prep again. So I'm just wondering, how am I physically going to fit all of this time into my schedule?
Yes. All right. And so is this how you pronounce your name? Let me ask you before I try.
Iquina.
So Iquina, the advice that I gave, and this is my recommendation. The first off, with this bar exam, as we all know, it is very arbitrary on the written portion on how it's graded. And there are times when people pass when they shouldn't. There's times when people should have passed and they don't. We're going to see, essay today where somebody was in the reread category. You see how different even two people can grade the same exact essay. So it's always like an exam where, if you studied at least some, you can shoot your shot. But in efforts to kind of like preserve your energy, preserve your sanity, preserve your finances and all those things, I will kind of recommend what I think is a more practical approach in that type of situation. And I think in that situation where, let's say, give me a rough estimate on how many hours a day you think you would probably be studying if you were to jump back into it starting Monday.
I'd say max 4 hours.
Okay, so max 4 hours. So let's say like it'll range anywhere from like 2 to 4, right? Sounds like you're working more or less full time. So a range from 2 to 4 hours a day. Now, I think, and you just took this past February.
Yes.
Okay, so if you just took this past February, I think you possibly have a decent shot. And I would, if you feel energized, if you feel ready, feel like it's the right time, I would say you can jump back into the saddle and give this a shot because you just touched the information, right? Depending on what your scores were, I think that would be another indicator, right? If you were let's say 200 points off, that indicates like a lot of work, almost starting from scratch on just like really rolling up your sleeves and getting in there. If you're like 50 points off, I think this, somewhere in that range. I think the 2 to 4 hours, if you're very intentional and you identify your weaknesses, you can kind of go through that in that very intentional way and shoot your shot. But if you feel like either one, you're not ready, with the gentleman that I talked to earlier, he hasn't studied for the exam in 2 years. So the information is not fresh and he has to really get in there and learn everything from scratch. So it is a personal question on just how much have you retained from what you just studied versus just like, it all dumped out after the exam was over. But if you're in that situation where it's not practical, what you can start to prepare for is the February 2024 exam. And what you can do is take what I built out was like a 3-phase approach. So Kendra, this is kind of getting into your question now. So we'll just kind of handle this before we jump into score sheets. And so if you're going to take the February 2024 approach, I would say start by using between now and the end of August. So from now until August as phase 1 of this extended study period. And phase 1 is just a slow and steady, like one, fill in all gaps in your understanding of the law, go through the law, right? Identify what are stubborn issues, identify any issues with the skills, but like get your bar prep materials from whatever company you want to use and go through a self-study and identify all your weaknesses. So that in phase 2, which would be September to December, you can, one, revisit those stubborn issues. Ideally, you revisit those stubborn issues with a private tutor so you can get straight to the like source of the problems and have somebody help get over those humps. And you do that for, again, September to December. So that's all about like focused attention on your weaknesses, both with the law and the skills. And then when you get to phase 3, at that point, starting in December, now that's that traditional study period of December to February, you can treat that almost like a traditional bar prep where you're kind of, all right, let me start back from the beginning. Let me hit every class. Let me do some more essays, some more MBEs, and you're ramping yourself up to be tested again next February. So that would be a 3-phase approach. Again, in summary, phase 1, touch everything, get back in, identify clear weaknesses and review. Phase 2, September to December, focus on issues and improving those issues. And then phase 3, take a more or less typical approach to bar prep where you're reviewing everything, tying all the loose ends, getting that practice up, getting that confidence up, and then going in and taking it. All right, so I'll pause there for a second. And Iquina, yeah, what do you think about that or any follow-up questions?
Okay, thank you for that. I am wanting to take the exam in July, and I don't mind sharing my score. I was about 59 points off from
Okay.
passing. So I do feel like there was contracts hates me for some reason. So I know that there are like certain subjects that I do need to hone in on. But yeah, I really didn't want to wait until February because I'm hoping to be starting my LLM by then. So
Got it.
that does help a lot though. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And so now knowing exactly where your score was, I would highly recommend just starting off bar prep with a session or two to kind of get into like, what are your issues and what are then the specific things that you can do if you're struggling with identifying those. If you can identify and diagnose like where your issues are, then by all means do that and then adjust your execution plan for achieving that. But yeah, with that score, I think you're in a position, even with working, that if you're intentional, right? Because when you're working and you're studying part-time, essentially, you don't have much time to waste. So you have to just make sure you're spending your study time wisely. And that comes from knowing what your weaknesses are.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so let me go ahead and stop sharing. I'm going to allow a screen share. And I know we got Mamta, we got my man Wood. And then Nikki, did you have a question or did you want to share your score sheet?
I have a question. So I took the bar when it was a 3-day exam, and this is going to be my first time taking a 2-day exam. I want to know what the main difference is between the exams.
The main difference is, yeah, the endurance needed to last 3 days, right? And so just like that third day was a beast. I took the 3-day exam. But the scoring is a little bit different now, where you had another PT and another essay, and the PT was 3 hours instead of one and a half hour. So the written portion of the exam is not going to be as impactful as it was before. So that's the bigger difference, is that like earlier in my approach for the other bar exam was like, all right, I can just really use my written portion to like really carry me through the bar exam, which you can still do to some extent, right? Because you're just looking for that total scale score, but MBEs just do carry more weight now. Outside of that, the change to the 2-day exam does not really change much on how you study and how you approach the exam. It's really the same. There's just a little less room for error. Or on the other end of it, Nikki, there is also like less room to mess up, right? So imagine on the bar exam, it was like that 6th essay, right, was the one that was going to kick your butt. Well, now that 6th essay doesn't show up and you're good. So it doesn't really change too much as far as how you kind of study and plan for it. Just know that the MBE does count for more now. Awesome. And then we had a question from the IG Live. What's a realistic range of expectation for a score raise? So from one period to the next, how much can one raise their score? I've seen personally with students that we've helped in Legally Fit as much as around a 120 point increase. Right. And that's a pretty aggressive score. Mamta, you raised your hand. What did you have?
So before I started Legally Fit, I was with Themis. I was like at a 1217. And now with Legally Fit, I'm like at a 1386.
Oh, 1386, Mamta? My God.
That's why I'm like, I want to share so you guys could see what it looks like.
They did not freaking do 4 points off. Oh man, I'm so sorry. That is like painful. Oh my, what a freaking jump though, Mom. So you like have to be proud of yourself.
It's all Legally Fit. It's all Legally Fit.
I appreciate you. That is so awesome. Okay, so what was the numbers there? That might be the record. What was the jump?
It was like 1217 to 1386.
What is that? Let me see. Look, it's too late in the day to be doing math in my head like that. So you said 1386 minus 1217. So that was 169 point jump. So there you go. I was gonna say the point jump that I've seen is 120. There you go, 170 point jump. That's so good. Awesome, man. That's wow. So yeah, there you go. There's the answer to the question. In order to have that point jump, you got to put in the work, as I know Mamta did. You got to, find a program that works well for you, translates the material, all those things. I would say that the very average, jump, if you're kind of getting back into it, is like a 20 point, 40 point, if you're just kind of like going through the motions again. But if you're really kind of getting on the side of it, we see, sky's the limit on what you can do to increase your score. Awesome. Okay, so let's start off with Was it you, Mamta? The first, we're going to share your score. So let's go ahead and take a look. And we got a little preview of what it'll be. So let's go ahead and see it.
Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait, no, I could see you seeing me. I see your desktop, and so I see me.
Okay. Hold on. Let me try again then.
Mm-hmm.
Window. There you go.
169. 1386. I would give you the biggest hug right now if I could. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this. All right. So first off, I just want to identify again the arbitrary nature of this exam as I'm talking about. Look at that first read 70, second read 60, first read 70, 60, and then the opposite way 60, 70. Like, how are we having 10-point jumps? Like, those are significant differences. Like 70 is a high passing. 60 is like, all right, barely passing, right? So why are we having that? Like a 5-point difference, fine, but 10, and I've seen as much as 20, excuse me, that's a 20-point difference. All right, so we see here, nothing is too aggressive, right? As far as being bad, except for essay number 4, we see there's the only thing, whenever we see something in the 50 range, we always want to question that. Now, what I can tell off of reading this is that Mamta is clearly showing an ability to write out good essays. If I can see 60, 65, and especially 70s, that means you have the ability to, you have the essay writing skill. So once I can identify through at least like half of my essays or 2 or 3 of those are high scores, I know the skill is there. It's coming down to my understanding of that topic. So when I'm looking at that essay number 4, Mamta, what essay was that? Can you remind us?
Ooh,
That was PR.
yeah, it was
Okay.
PR.
And would you say that PR is a subject that you can improve in, or did you feel really strong about?
Heck yeah, I sucked at PR.
There we go, right? So typically with this, like you can see that there's strong essay skills in there, but that topic, we need a little bit more work. So there you go. PR, you would write that down as like one area in this next go round to improve, especially when you know PR is tested every bar exam. When you look at the PT, you're looking at 60, 65 on the first read, second read. With the PTs, it's like, that's exactly where you want to shoot for, right? Ideally, you can get like a 70, 75. Those are hard things to achieve because PTs are kind of hard to like take over transferable skills. But at least if we're in that range, that's at a good place. Still do a couple practice to see if you can uptick it, but that's a decent place for the PT. So that's the diagnostic there on the essay. It's just like, all right, skills are there. I need to get my understanding of the law down for my weaker subjects. And then that's reflective. We had a 1450 for the scaled written. So again, yeah, strong essay. Now, moving over to the MBE. So you had a scale score of 1322. So as I was mentioning, right, to Nikki a second ago, that you can have scores that where, you know, one section of the exam is carrying the weight. So Mamta was so close, like, right? If let's say on that essay 4, if the first read happened to be a 70 instead of a 55, well, that likely would have took it over the hump. And even though she got a 1322 on the MBE, that would have been enough to pass, right? So you can have strong essay account for weaker MBE and vice versa. But with that said, here we have a 1322. So for Mamta going into this, it's like, all right, let me not lose my essay writing skill, okay? And let me definitely put some attention on my MBE. Now, looking at my MBE, it's again, is this a skill issue or is this a substantive law issue? So next thing we'll do is look at that MBE percent below. First off, Mom, do you know how to read these numbers?
I didn't at first, like the first time I did the bar exam, but this time it makes sense because of the discrepancy now. Like
Yeah,
there's huge discrepancies.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the lower the number, right, is not good. The higher the number, the better, right? So the first thing that you're seeing here is that, yeah, let's put some attention into contracts and real property. We're seeing some outliers there. Everything else is right, you completely skipped 30%. It was either in 20% or 40% and above. So that's good for you. You could see these clear outliers where like, that's my first area. And that seems to be then more of a law issue. Again, if it was a skill issue, you typically wouldn't see something like a 72.2%, right? A 56, a 47. So it doesn't seem like your timing is really bad or you're second guessing yourself too much. It appears that it's let's get that contracts and that real property up to like 35, 40, and be selling smoothly. So overall, Mamta, and anybody else that can relate to this type of score sheet, the approach is going to be, don't take your foot off the gas, right? Get back into it and just give it everything you've got to make sure this is your last time. The only risk of being this close, Mamta, is thinking like, all right, getting too comfortable and too content, and then you don't do enough to pass. So again, it's like, it's good that you're that close, right? Because now you can do it, but of course it stings a little bit. So it's just like, process that and let's get over this hump together. But damn, 170 points, Mopta, you have to be.
All you.
Yes, thank you. It's all you, it's both of us. How about that? We'll both take it, and like, congratulations. Like that is impressive. You really put in the work. All right, so let's go to the next one. Wood, let's go ahead and share the screen.
Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute you, Wood, while we got the Amber, you have a question while we wait for Wood?
Hey, I just wanted to see, like, how can I get your opinion on my scores? I just found you on Instagram, so I'm just jumping in here last minute.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, we're just doing basically score sheet reviews. Yeah, Wood, why don't you go ahead and find yours? If you have yours ready to screen share, we can jump into that one and then we'll circle back to Wood's.
Oh,
Do you know how to screenshot on the iPad, D?
There should be like a green button in the corner or somewhere where you hit more, and then it's gonna be say share screen.
Okay. No. Crap.
And so yeah, I think there was a third person that wanted to go over there. So yeah, we can go through a couple more. So whoever has theirs ready that
I
wanted,
have mine up, ready to go. I can share mine.
go for it. And this is Leslie.
Leslie.
Oh, that's an interesting. I've never seen it spelled that way. Unique.
So this was my second time taking the bar exam. Personally, my original.
Oh, you broke up a little bit.
Score my first time around. Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So.
Oh, hang on.
Is it just me, or is she breaking up a little bit?
It's breaking up on my end as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So her connection's bad, but we'll go ahead. Oh, I was gonna read it, but
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It looked like someone was trying to take over the screen, and I was trying to giving me error messages.
oh, interesting. Okay, so let's try it one more time, and then yeah, we'll
Okay.
everybody take turns, stay in single file line.
All right.
All right, here we go. So essay number 1, 60, essay 2, 65, essay 3, 55, essay 4, 55, essay 5, 60, and then a strong PT. Awesome, 60 on the PT. So let me get the easy part out the way. PT, you're at a good place with the PT, 70, right? That's really good. In this next bar prep, you can prioritize the PT the least, but do not overcorrect. Still do a couple, right? Maybe 2 to 3, especially 1 or 2 closer to the exam, just so that way you're bar ready and we don't want to lose that strength. That's really awesome that you got a 70 on your PT. All right, getting to the essay portion. So what we're not seeing is anything in the 70 range. It dropped out again. Try to pull it back up and I can continue to go off what I remember.
Yeah. Sorry
So-
about that.
It's okay. We didn't see anything in the 70 range, which is telling me there's nothing that's necessarily demonstrating a very good essay writing skill, right? But you do have 65s and 60s, which is like, okay, so that tells me that it's at a sufficient place. But I would be thinking, all right, where are my weak areas and how could I take that to the next level? And then with the 55s, at that point, that's telling me that we have a decent essay writing skill, but then there are then some substantive areas that we can improve on. And you see that with essay 3 and 4. So overall, you have a scaled written score of 1417. And this is a little bit, I would say, of a more rare scenario. Most people don't have their PTs carry them in the way that you did. So this is awesome that you have that. If you keep that PT score at a 70 and you can improve those essays, that would be a really high scaled written score because those PTs are counted twice. So that's why your scaled written is actually at a 1417, even though you only got 165 on your essays. So let's focus on improving the essays and getting that substantive understanding down. And then as far as the scaled MBE, right? So we see here, there's an outlier in criminal law, right? That we need to improve in crim law. We see some other ones out of 30%, contracts, evidence, real property. So we see about 4 out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4 out of the 7 subjects that we want to get above that 30%. So overall, your game plan is to go through bar prep in a full force, right? As many hours as you can dedicate manner, ideally full time. And you're going to want to know that when it comes to, I think your biggest focus is going to be on learning the law and choosing a program that can really help you get down a better understanding of the material, and then doing more MBE just to make sure you are jumping that score up. But I think it's a pretty safe diagnosis seeing that score sheet. Yeah, any follow-up questions or thoughts on that?
No, and I'm sorry that my screen share was just like acting up. I don't know. It might just be something on with my computer, but yeah, I did notice, like, this was my second time. My first time, I don't know if you heard, but I had gotten a 1290. So I did go up at least, what was that, 21 points from my previous one. And I did see for sure my MBE is definitely where I need the most work. Just based off of my writing scores, like I can see I have some of the skills there, and especially with my PT. So I don't want to lose that, but I know I need to work more on the substantive law for the MBE portion.
Yes. And again, I think I always think that essay is the easiest portion of the exam to improve. I would not get away from that. It sounds like if you have that high of a PT and you have some 65s, you have a 65 in there, I think you can adopt a stronger essay writing skill. And again, sometimes that's easier to do. So do also think of the essays as an opportunity, because I've seen somebody get a scaled written of like 1500. So by doing that, Leslie, it then lowers how much of a jump you have to make on your MBEs, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, awesome stuff. Wood, you got yours? You ready to share your screen?
Yes, sir. Let's do this here. Okay. Can you see it, D?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, cool. And then I'll either mute you or I'll ask you to mute the back. Start getting the iPad coming in.
Yeah.
All right. So for the first read for essay number 1, we got 55, essay 2, 50, essay 3, 60, 4, 55, essay 5, 50. So first off, on the essay portion, this is where we don't have 165. So we know that the skill of the essay is the first step we can identify. We do want to improve. So this is either a organization issue, it's an analysis issue, right? And knowing you Would, I know there's times where you can understand the law pretty well. So are we using enough facts to show that and to get all the points? Time management, are we finishing these essays? So those are all the types of things, guys, that are essay skills. And so, yeah, I think here we have an essay skill that we want to improve. And then when it comes to the PT, again, like you definitely want to stay out of that 50 range, ideally a 65. You're right at that 60. So this is an area where, of course, you could still do some PT practice. I would recommend that normal like 5 to 7 just to see if we can get that up. But you can also get away with 2 to 3 just to kind of like at least keep it right where you're at. I wouldn't say PT is the top of your priority list. It'd be the essays and then going into the MBEs. So we see here, we have some strong ones, right? We see we have criminal law in the high 50%. We have real property in the 50%, Civ Pro in the mid 40s. And then it's the con law at 18, the evidence at 8, and then we have the torts at 26. So it's really kind of all over the place where a lot of times, or sometimes you kind of see a little bit more of like this. You kind of have from a range of 8% to 57%. So it's identifying there that you have a skill for the MBE. You have the ability to like go through those and do well. It's that we got to get to a deeper level of understanding for those weaknesses, and we see the outliers, right? So then for an ultimate total sales score of 1236, at that point, the recommendation is that definitely with over 100 points is that one, you roll up the sleeves and dedicate as many hours as you can to a full study schedule. And also, and I don't think you have yet, Wood, is jump into some private coaching to see if that can possibly unlock, you know, what is kind of holding back in bumping up that understanding. But yeah, just doing a second with you to go over that. You know, would you say in the previous bar preps, because I know you have family, right? You have your daughter. Are you putting in the requisite hours each time, or is it kind of like that's the main culprit as to why we see some of this? And you're muted. You hear me? You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so no, I've put in the requisite hours on this here. Is well, first, just to let you know that before I took your course, I was always scoring like in the 11, 11:20, 11:30. And since I've taken your course, I went from an 11:36 to 12:36. This is my first time ever taking a bar to where my score is at a 12:36. This is the first time.
There we go then. Exactly. Celebrate.
This is the first time when my scale MBE is a 1250. So as I'm going over my essays, it's like I get more disappointed because on the first essay, the Civ Pro, I missed the issue. I could have got a 65 easy. You know what I'm saying? And it was just the panicking is, you know, I've done issue spotting, but I haven't done enough time condition essays, you know? So, and then, you know, with S&M, I told you what happened with my con law. Half of my con law was gone and I still got a 50. So just imagine if my full answer was there, you know? So I'm looking at these things and it's like, okay, would still issue spot, but also, you know, practice, do time condition essays so I could be comfortable in a setting, because I didn't do any time condition. So when I got there, I relied on, of course, the photo system. I knew it. But I was like, oh crap, I'm taking too long. And now I'm panicking. You know, it's like you forget things. So
yes. Okay. So this is a very good point that Wood is bringing up, that is incorporated into what are your weaknesses and your skills. So we talked about weaknesses with the law and weaknesses with your skills. And essentially that like test condition is essentially in the skill category, right? Being able to perform and being able to carry over all of your skills into the exam is an area to evaluate as well. If you feel like, as Wood is saying, once the lights are on and once it's exam mode, if you know, we're either panicking a little bit or we're forgetting things, etc., how can you work on that during your preparation period? So the answer there, which is not something that we, for the general masses, overdo, we don't do a ton of simulated exams, right? I only want you guys to do time conditions, like one every like 5 essays, 6 essays. We do one mock exam. But in this situation, if that's something that you're struggling with, that would be something to incorporate into this next bar prep, is maybe at the end of each day doing time conditions, right? Just so you can get quick and comfortable with putting everything together once the clock is on. So that's a really good variance of what we haven't seen yet in reading these scores and what we can do to work on that. And again, it's a matter of making that slight adjustment. But congratulations on, again, another 100-point jump. And basically you want to also continue that, right? Because looking at these scores, that's great that you've made the improvement. Now, all you got to do is like take that to the next level. If you, right, repeat what you did just before and a little bit more, right? Then you take that level of understanding to the next level. You then take your skills there and we can get it done hopefully the next time.
Also the hypos, guys, the hypos is love. I'm telling you, they work, because I've done your hypos and I go to the MBEs and I start, trying to dissect, and, you remember, oh, I've done this problem some way, somehow. And you do the MBE. So yeah, the whole shebang, man. You already know the vibe, D. I always root for Legally Fit. So hey, you know the vibe.
Appreciate that. Yeah, for those that don't know, he's referring to the Legally Fit hypos that you get in the program. And just got to give you a quick spiel on that. Thank you for bringing that up, Wood. So what we have is a workbook for every single class, where what I did was researched every California bar exam from 2002 and about 3,000 multiple choice questions, licensed and other, popularly used questions. And I extracted all the tested topics, all the patterns, and then I put that into Legally Fit style questions and explanations. On the question side, what we're doing is not using boring questions where you can't really picture the parties of the question or the scenario. And we're using pop culture, we're using lifelike examples where you're able to connect with it. And then that way, when you see, as Wood just said, like, I've seen something like this before, you're then now super prepared to answer that question. So instead of learning contracts in the context of construction contracts to begin with, we're going to learn that in the context of something we're more familiar with, like buying shoes, right? Or going to the grocery store, right? Whatever it may be. So thank you for that shameless plug. Would always appreciate it.
Already know, the vibe.
So we'll do one more of these and then we'll wrap up kind of reading the scores. I think we're getting some good variance here. We'll do one more. I know the one person hopped on from IG was at Amber. I don't know if she's still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. So are you ready to share your screen?
Yes.
All right. All right, let's see what we have here. First read 55, second read 60, 60, 60, 55, and then PT 65. Okay, so first off, this is on the written portion, a relatively similar score, right, to what we just saw. So we wanted the essays, we don't see 165 on the essay. So we're not seeing the skill and probably the understanding of the law that we want to have. So that's going to be definitely an area of focus as you go into this next exam, is to make sure you have materials and a program that is really helping you understand the law, and you are improving your skill of essay writing, whether that's, again, you have to figure out, is it like Wood, where I need to improve my game day performance? Is it you need to improve your issue spotting? Is it your thorough analysis? Like, I'm spotting the issues, I'm just not getting all the points. So got to get in there, roll up the sleeves and figure out what it is. Your PT is at a good place. So again, like, this is going to be the de-emphasized portion that you need to focus on. But of course, don't let that slip. And if possible, see if you can get that up to a 70. All right. So overall, I see definitely a focus area on the written. Let's go to the MBE. So you got a scaled score of 1187. So again, ultimately here, you look at your scaled written, and that's a lot closer to 1390. It's a 1350. But again, when you have a high PT, that high PT can disguise and mislead us in thinking like, oh, we're good on the written portion, but it's that PT that's really, you know, doing a good job for us. So even though you're at a 1350 there, still look to improve on the essays. And then we do see a significantly lower score on the scaled MBE. We're in under the 1200 range, we're at 1187. Now, this is, we see here, we have evidence at 8.7, torts at 7.9. So you have 2 big outliers, and then you have 3 additional scores under 30%, con law, crim law, and real property. So what that's telling me is that you should take either a different approach or a different program that's really going to help you understand the law a lot better. And then in the process, you will develop your skills. But I think the biggest thing here for you is that full study schedule and look for a different either study approach or study program to jump up that understanding of the law. And then, yeah, before we wrap up, any kind of additional thoughts or kind of feedback that I can provide more feedback on to kind of, you know, tailor it to you.
Thank you for taking a look at this. I'm just toggling between, this is my 3rd time taking it. I'm honestly truly exhausted.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the mental capacity to take it right away, right in July. So I don't know. That's what I'm toggling between. I don't know if I would be doing myself a disservice by waiting till February.
Yeah.
And that's what I need to make a change, obviously, because it's not working. And so, but I don't know what type of change, and I'm trying to see if it would be July or February. And I know that's something I need to decide myself, but
Yeah.
I don't know how your opinion is on waiting one time or not.
Yes. So let me tell you that right off the bat, like first off, one, I want to like thank and say how I'm proud and impressed I am of everybody like being vulnerable enough to share their scores, right? Like the fact that we're in this position, right? It is again not indicative of our ability to pass this, how smart we are, and things like that. Like this is a difficult exam, and some of us are stronger at standardized test taking than others, et cetera. So thank everybody for sharing. 2, I'm super happy to also hear in situations like this that Kendra, that here Amber are considering that if for them they need to sit one out and take the following exam, because so often it can kind of turn into sometimes this like over motivating and overconfident culture where it's almost toxic, where it's just like, no, I just got to keep going and I kind of keep doing it, when you have to like listen to your body, your mind, and your life, you know, and kind of ride the wave of your life to see, you know, like, is now the time? So to your point, it is a very personal question. It's a very personal, right, assessment of what your endurance level is. And you have to know like what limits you can push your body to that without, you know, me knowing you very well, I wouldn't be able to give 100% accuracy on that like clue or that guess. But with that said, is you have a week to essentially, you know, figure that out and take that week. And that is your top priority. Your top priority, Amber, for where you're at is not like identifying my weaknesses. It's not, you know, hopefully it's not, you know, a lot of time figuring out what program you're going to take. Hopefully, you know, if you are going to do this again, you know which program you want to do. You're not like calling around 10 different companies trying to figure out what you're going to do. You're really just resetting, looking inward to really see if you have what it takes to jump back into the saddle. And what that looks like is a little bit of reflection time and just kind of slowing down and just like kind of filling it out. You know, I will share that if you are considering Legally Fit, like this is a type of environment and approach that can rejuvenate you into studying, and you can catch like a little bit more energy and momentum. And I see we have some of our students shaking their heads, and they can provide, you know, some maybe more information for you on that and give you that testament. But you know, that is something to lean into, but I wouldn't rely on that 100%. And I want to like empower you and everybody, if they feel like they need to take a second from this, then do so, because I rather a student in that situation take a second, get their sanity, get their endurance levels up, pass then that next exam that they then take and be done, as opposed to push themselves right now, not pass this one, still be on E, push themselves again, and, you know, continue that cycle. So I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. It really helps. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. And then if there's any more that, after you kind of assess anything, if you want to chat any more, feel free to email and maybe we can set up like a quick 15-minute call to kind of help make that final decision. But I think looking inward, it will be, the best solution there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So that was really good. I'm happy we did that. Again, thank you to everybody that shared their score. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go ahead and go through the three that I brought up too that are anonymous, just to kind of show you guys, for those that didn't volunteer theirs, maybe you can identify with these score sheets. So this person scored a 1377 total scale score. As I told you, I saw somebody that did a scaled written of 1500. Here it is right here. So they had a scaled score of 1500, right? So they crushed the essay. 70, 70, 70, 75. Look at that point difference again, by the way, with essay 2, 55 and 70. Like, come on. Like below passing, and then like whatever, we won't go on down that path again. And then the MBE, Civ Pro 5.6, Con Law 24, Contracts 21, Evidence 22. So clearly here it's the MBE, scaled MBE of 1255. So essay writing is strong. I'll put a little bit more practice on the PT and a lot of practice on the MBEs. So you have to really get in and figure out what is it with the MBEs. Obviously, for those really low classes, like anything under 10%, 100%, you need to understand that topic better. When you're in that 25%, 30%, maybe it's just like you're not getting the gist for that type of question. So it could be skill related. So again, identify the issues for you. The solution, as we see here, move this, is pretty much, even though this person is that close, and this, again, we kind of went through this version with Mamta, even though you were that close, don't take your foot off the gas, stay on it full-fledged, and then just adjust, right, to what your strengths and weaknesses are. So for this person, instead of aiming for 2,200 MBEs and 100 essays, this person should aim for 3,000 MBEs and 50 essays. And then that way you're making, again, this adjustment where you're not neglecting the essays completely, but you are tweaking things to play to your particular scenario. All right, next one. All right, so this person, right, I honestly, I've never seen this before. It's a one-time thing, but I'm sure other scores kind of represent this scenario where it's just like even 1347, 1347. And not only is it like an even score on the written and the MBE, it's also, again, within that, 50-point range, right? So it's not super far off. So for this person, again, it's like, don't overthink it. But it's like, let me improve my writing skills, my understanding of the law, like everything. Let me just take everything to the next level. So no need to, get too crazy and try to overcorrect and do anything. You just got to jump back in the saddle and be intentional. All right. So if there's anything that should be a ringing message of today, it's that when you, as a repeat taker, guys, jump back into studying, the way that you make the most out of your time, whether you have limited time because you're working or you're studying full time, the way you make the most is to know where is it that I'm weak, and being intentional every time you sit down to study, that you're like keeping that at the forefront and not missing those opportunities to actually improve that. But if you're just going through the work fast, and again, right, you're not getting as much value as you can. All right, and then the last one, okay? So we have a 1267 here, right? So we saw a couple of these as well, okay? But we look at this one and we see a first read of a 70. All right, if I see a 70, again, you have the ability to score high on an essay, all right? But it's not consistent. We see 55, 60, 50, 65, okay? So I see a 60, a 65, and a 70. I'm seeing some good writing, but it's not consistent. The understanding of the law, right, is not going to be there for whatever essay 2 and essay 4 was. And I could tell you that essay 2 for this year was con law. And so we see here a correlation. We see essay 2, 55, and then we see con law at 8.8. So again, con law is the area we want to focus on. And so the idea here is identify the weak areas, get back into it. We want to improve the written. We want to do the MBE. So essentially the idea is jump back into the program. Let's ride the momentum of some of the strengths that we do have, and then just take it from there. And we see some good things. Civ Pro at 66.9%, right? We see real property at 42. That first essay at 70. That PT is also something that we definitely want to get out of that 55 range, knowing that it's counted twice. Stephanie? Did you raise your hand, Stephanie?
I did. Sorry, I'm trying to get out of the living room where they're watching the Laker game and you can hear me better. So I recognize the scores. That is mine. And I did want to say, as soon as I heard you say something about SA4, SA4 needs to be re-reviewed because I forget the acronym you have for professional responsibility.
Yes.
But I wrote it all down and I was so proud of SA4. I literally thought this is the one that gets me over the 1390 and this is how I pass with SA4. So to see that 50, it's so disappointing.
So
I want someone to review my SA4 and tell me where I went wrong. I did not see it.
Man,
I don't know. I literally went back in your outline, compared it, and it's all there. So I don't know.
I think the best thing that you're gonna do in that scenario, because if it's PR, and PR is just like, we know PR is like all over the place and how it can be tested, what issues they wanted to raise, the possible issues, etc. I think the best bet is waiting until they release the release sample answers, and then we can compare and really get into it to see exactly. But that sucks. I mean, and it's not uncommon, right? It's like the law school, problem where it's like you walked out of that final like, oh my God, I crushed it. And then it was like and then the one you thought you failed, you ended up
my worst score.
Yeah, exactly. So
whatever.
But yeah, again, I know you said what was your point jump again?
116 points.
100. I mean, wow, like this is honestly crazy listening to all the 100-point jumps that we had. So again, it's like, it's not always as good as obviously passing it, but we're making the jumps and all got to do is just ride that momentum and make those jumps again, and we'll get this done. So Stephanie, like, keep up the good work. Congratulations on making that jump. And yeah, we're just going to jump back in there and knock this thing out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So that concludes our section of dissecting scores. That was really good. It's the first time we've done that in this event. We'll definitely keep that up. I think it's really good to be able to see other people's scores because, again, you start to see some patterns, and hopefully that was very beneficial. So we're going to round out the session and finish off, and then hopefully some of us can get back to watching that Laker game. I know a lot of us are in LA and, very invested in the outcome here. So I'm just going to wrap up with telling you guys a little bit about Legally Fit's upcoming bar prep, and you guys can use this information to make a good decision for yourself on what approach you take. So we have our elevated self-study, which is our standard program, which is Legally Fit bar prep. With this, you're going to get all the materials you need to study for the exam. The only thing that you're going to need to supplement Legally Fit with is your own bank of MBE questions, licensed questions, right? So Adaptabar has theirs for around 300. UWorld has a program you could do their questions. Instead of creating or getting the actual licensed questions, as Wood was referring to, our approach to that is use those programs because they have the algorithms that can track your progress and all that stuff that we don't have just yet. We would just be giving you questions and you keep your own track. But instead, we have the Legally Fit hypos that 100% are an MBE resource. They're just not in MBE format. So you're going to be doing the Legally Fit hypos in the program, and then our schedule creates time for you to do MBEs from the bank of your choice. Right now, the current kind of trend is UWorld for anybody that's on the fence. I don't really have, any stake in the game. I think both programs are sufficient. It can get you over the hump. I think when it comes to MBE overall, it's that the questions on the day of the exam are going to look slightly different no matter which program you end up taking. It's just a matter of doing as many questions as possible, getting comfortable as many patterns as possible, and increasing your skill of thinking critically, right? So many times when you don't know what the law is for that area, you still have to rely on something that you know. So really exercising that critical thinking muscle is what's most transferable, right? And then obviously some of the patterns are as well. So yeah, more practice, the better. But yeah, back to Legally Fit, you're going to get outlines, charts for all my visual learners. It's a big part of Legally Fit. For all the visual learners, you might not get what you need elsewhere, but we really appeal to the visual learners. We love our charts here. Essays, your essay writing is going to improve. We love our essays, right? We have PT resources. PT, as we know, is a portion of the exam that's a little hit or miss. It's harder to improve on because every PT is different. We have a great attack plan, and we give you the PTs to practice and tell you which ones to practice. If you are like noticeably struggling with PTs and you really need some specialized attention, I would recommend looking outside of Legally Fit for some additional attention. But if you're in that range of like, 55 to 60 and you haven't done Legally Fit before, our materials are definitely capable of getting you to that 65 range and maybe even 70. With our elevated self-study, you also get office hours, which is not something that you get with the typical big box, right, cookie cutter program. And that's what Legally Fit's basic program is here to do, which I'm going to get into next is the Bar Prep Plus. That's our bread and butter. That's what we've done for, about 8 years now. But a lot of students, wanted a lower price point option and then the ability to just like, give me my materials and let me go. So for those students, we've created this version as well. And so for all those that want the traditional, the magic of the Legally Fit experience, that's going to be the Bar Prep Plus. So this go round, every summer, we essentially alternate or so on whether we do live lecture or live workshops. And so this summer we'll be doing live workshops. So we'll be doing live MBE skill building workshops and live essay writing workshops. They also change who they're with. This summer, I'll be doing all the workshops. With the exception of 1 week, I have to leave for a law school conference, but I'll be doing the workshops this year. In addition to the workshops, which will be about 2 to 4 of those a week, we'll be having daily and weekly accountability checks. We know Legally Fit is all about the support and the additional add-ons to make sure we all get across the finish line. And we have some additional extras and surprises that some of my returning Legally Fit students know about. I wish I can share them with you, but it wouldn't be a surprise if I did so. Can't just say no, can't say it. And so obviously they won't share it either. But again, it's all in the realm of just giving you guys that extra bit of motivation and support that makes the difference sometimes in you passing. So, the reason why I created this Bar Prep Plus, which was the original program of Legally Fit, was that this exam is very exhausting, is very demanding. And for a lot of us, we need a little bit more than just a set of books and a schedule to follow, right? We need a little bit of that support, that guidance, that motivation. And so we've tried to also optimize this program where you can get as little or as much as you need. So it's not something also for those that feel like, all right, maybe I want a little bit of it, but I don't want to sit in, therapy sessions twice a week. If that's kind of your MO, where it's like, okay, you're free to kind of like hop in and hop out as much as you want. If you're on the other side of it and you're Mr. Kumbaya like I am, and you want to, be a part of all that, then that's there for you as well. So it's really comfortable in that, yeah, nobody's forced into it. And even for the tough ones that, like, I don't need it, those are the ones that end up being in there every week as well, just because, you end up seeing the value of it. But yeah, that's our Bar Prep Plus program. Amazing materials, amazing support, amazing community of bar takers that are supporting each other through it. And we try to create a community as much as we can to get over this hurdle together. We all got one objective, and that's passing this exam. We also have private coaching. So those are our 2 programs. We have private coaching available. It is first come, first serve basis. Our lead tutor is Matthew Downen. He took Legally Fit, what was it, like 2020? So about 3 years ago. He was a star student, completely, vibed with the program, understood it well, passed his first time. He also took us for some things in law school. So he knows everything about Legally Fit very well. And he hosts our private coaching within the company. He's about half booked on his schedule. So it is a first come, first serve basis. And so if you want that, better to sign up sooner than later. The benefits, we've talked a lot about identifying strengths and weaknesses. Some of us are good at looking in the mirror and doing that on our own. Some of us struggle with that. So if you do struggle with that, we can help. Also, let's say you've identified your strengths and weaknesses. Well, you need to figure out how to adjust your plan and not overcorrect, right? And make the right adjustments. So we can also use those private coaching sessions to help with with planning your attack plan. And then also you can have sessions. Let's say you came up with your strengths and weaknesses by yourself or with the coach, You have your attack plan by yourself or with the coach. Well, now it's just like there's 9 weeks or so of like practicing that and making sure I'm getting it done. And so you can use sessions throughout bar prep in that way. Okay, it's going to keep you accountable. It's going to give you something to look forward to make sure you get some high value studying in. And so for those that need it and have the budget, this is a great resource to use. The pricing is $150 an hour that you can just like get sessions throughout bar prep as needed. Or if you want to like guarantee a time and day out of the week, you can start off in the beginning of bar prep by buying a bundle. You'll work with our logistics, you'll work with Monique to figure out a time and day that works for you. And then you'll have a set time and day every week for your 2-hour session. And so the bundle for once a week sessions for 10 weeks is $2,000. And for twice a week is $4,000. So you save a little bit. Instead of being $50 or $150 an hour, it ends up being $100 an hour if you bundle and do the 10-week option. All right, quick timeline. You have today is the I didn't pass, now what? Today is also orientation. For all those that have done Legally Fit and are ready to just to jump back in there and make that, again, that next jump. Orientation is not that big for you, kind of go through it, right? But you've done this before, you've seen it, you know how we do practice essays, you know how we, go through practice multiple choice. If you weren't connected with that before, you need to revisit that, by all means do it, but it'll be a light orientation week for you. My biggest advice for you guys is just like rest, relax, get mentally ready to get back into this. For all those that are coming to Legally Fit for the first time, it is highly recommended that you take advantage of orientation week, okay? So what we did is separate out all of the things that are strategy and how we study. And so a big part of Legally Fit that we haven't talked about is not just like the amazingness of how quickly we can explain the law, but it's also the like very practical way we go about learning and the difference between learning and testing yourself. So it's all this like, kind of mind shifting that we do in how I want you to study. And so orientation is great for soaking that in. So that way you can just soak all that in and not have to worry about learning parole evidence rule and 2207 at the same time. So the program starts next week. This is a great week to get into orientation and all the strategy of how we study. We are going to have some great resources as well that are also free for all those that are interested. So tomorrow, May 9th and Wednesday, May 10th, we're going to go ahead and be breaking down an essay from the February exam. So tomorrow we're going to do property. I'll let you guys know tomorrow what essay we're going to do on Wednesday, but tomorrow we'll be doing the property essay. It'll be at 7 o'clock via Zoom. If you don't have the information, follow us on Instagram. It'll be on there. Email us. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. for the property essay. And then next Monday is the start of the bar prep. Okay, so that's a quick little timeline. Key stat number 1. We are successful with repeat takers coming from Barbary, Themis, Kaplan, one-timer. So wherever you're coming from, we can help you. Sometimes people are like, oh, do you work for students coming from this program, right? No matter what program you're coming from, we can help you is the point here. Repeat takers taking Legally Fit have seen 100-point plus increases in their score, which we saw the test of it today. Thank you so much, everybody, for offering that. It warms our heart, as our students that, put in the work, are smart, capable, that don't quite get over the hump on that, that test that was just in front of them, but still just have such great things to say about Legally Fit. Like, it takes a lot to not put the blame on somebody else and to just be like, all right, I just got to get back in there and do it. So just want to say thank you so much that you guys continue to ride for Legally Fit and share with everybody like how much it's helped you. So really appreciate it. And then key stat number 3, we have a 95% pass rate with students who were within that 25 points of passing. So it's just for all those that are coming right over and they're just right on that edge. Like Legally Fit is just such a can provide such a radical improvement that if all you need is 25 points or less, is a high chance that we're going to get that. Because as you've seen, we're getting 100+ point, improvements. So the 25 points is like, hey, put in the work, come in and try this new approach, and it'll likely be successful. All right, we started with Muhammad Ali. We're going to end with Muhammad Ali. Success is around the corner. He was on the mat. He was knocked down. He got up. He put his fist back up and, he went ahead and won the match. So that is the same success that we are planning and hoping for everybody here. Yeah, and we look forward to being a part of your journey, whether that was, just today for us to give you the information that you need to go on and pass, or you want to come back and be a part of our program. So I hope this was super helpful. Thank you for everything. And I will stop sharing and see if we have any follow-up questions before we conclude for the night. Leslie?
Yeah, I have a question. So I know right now the bar prep is for the summer bar. I'm kind of in the same area as Amber in deciding, should I take it right now or should I wait until February? I'm personally leaning more towards waiting until February to take it, February of next year, mainly because I'm currently in a fellowship. They did offer me some time to take some time off for the last bar, which I did take about 3 weeks off, 2 weeks, the 2 weeks leading up to the bar, but then I went down to part-time. Personally, I saw that the part-time actually worked for me in that I had like a couple, like 3-4 hours a day where I didn't have to worry about the bar. I could like have my mind elsewhere and then be reset later in the afternoon to like do my bar study stuff. And then the 2 weeks leading up to the bars where I did struggle the most with like focusing and getting that stuff done. So because of that, I do kind of feel like I should take that time off between now, or in terms of like not taking the bar so that I can finish my fellowship and then figure out employment wise what's going to happen. So I'm wondering if you'll have like any of that pricing info available. Like say I want to start early with like bar prep, because my plan would be I want to at least be employed part-time so that my schedule works out that way, to just because of my learning style, so to speak, and like what best works for me. Like how early would you say like I'd be able to start, for example, if like say I started doing part-time work in October leading up to taking the bar in February?
Yeah, so we're really accommodating to students that want to start early and have like adjusted schedules. So like even if you wanted to, let's say, sign up for the program now, let's say you want to sign up for the program, it starts in next week, and you do the self-study. Well, you have access to those materials now until you pass. So essentially you can always take the recourse and we don't charge anything for that. The only thing that you'll do in the future is that if you ever want to be a part of the Bar Prep Plus and the live program, you'll just pay the difference for that year, right? So that's also good information for anybody that is retaking Legally Fit. If you've already taken the program, you're good to get all the materials you need to study again, the schedule, office hours. But if you want that full experience, all you have to do is pay that difference, which is around $1,700. So that would be your ability to essentially start early. You can start essentially then, whenever you want. And I mean, just logistically, it would be ideal to just kind of like do it when we're in bar prep onboarding seasons, just so you can like get everything, as opposed to doing it in a weird month like October, because there's no bar prep going on during that period. But if that's when you have to wait, then just reach out and then we can kind of just like, talk through it and figure it out.
Okay, so like say like for like personally, like I would like to at least do some work now, especially with my MBE. So it would be ideal, like right now I could still at least get the material and then work my way on my own, like you said, the self-study, until I get to that point of actual bar prep to then gear up for.
Exactly. And if you're planning to take February 2024, what I would say is my approach, if you're doing like an hour, 2 hours a day, or let's just say 10 hours a week or something like that during this time, like I would say phase 1 is from now until end of August, which is just like take your time, get into the material, like one subject every week or even 2 weeks if it's a tough subject, and you're watching the videos, you're doing the hypos, you're really just diving into it. And you're identifying all your weaknesses and keeping track of all that. Phase 2, from September until December, is going to be working with a private coach or with yourself on just those stubborn issues, like really just hyper focusing on those issues. And then phase 3, once you've done that in phase 2, is now the normal bar prep. And it's just like allocate as much time as I can to a full study schedule and just like, just go in and do a refresh on all the classes and get bar exam ready. So I think that would be the best approach if you're considering the Feb 2024.
Okay. Because I just need 79 points. That's what I need to pass at this point.
That's all. And look, and that's totally doable as we've heard. So you're right there. Keep the hope up. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions? I see not everybody has left me. Everybody started to get to the Laker game. Any other questions? Kendra, I know you were talking about positive. Have I answered kind of
Yeah, you did answer. I like the whole like 3-phase option and like attacking me approaching the February 2024 exam. I just wanted to know like what payment options are available, but I know that that's probably a question for Miss Monique.
Yeah.
So I will just follow up with her, but I think because of the score that I earned this time around, I may want to just do like the full program again, plus the tutoring so that I can assess my weaknesses and then really attack it strong going forward.
Good. Yeah. And then for you, if you're going to take that 3-step approach, and if you're confident you're taking the Feb 2024, you wouldn't need to pay anything for phase 1. So now until September, you have access to everything. And then we can talk about then pricing for the private coaching in phase 2 from September to December, and then pricing for December until February.
February, okay. And that'll probably be better too, because then you guys won't be all booked out. Well, I can get in before everyone else does.
Yeah, that you would definitely, when they say first come, first serve, yep, you would be top of the line.
Okay. Yeah, I'm putting my funds away now.
There we go. Yeah. And so, and I just want to give one last little tidbit on the whole like waiting to the next exam. And again, it's such a personal choice. If this was like 10 years ago, I would have been more, you would have heard more of a brute force kind of response of just like, no, take it, but one, we're in a different place as individuals and as human beings, right? Ever since post-COVID, we're just like, mental levels, endurance levels, it's just a lot more factors into the exam more than just law, right? And understanding this. So being aware of that, right? It's such an internal question with just where you're at, how your life is set up, et cetera. Health-wise, finances, so many different factors.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, the same with the world that we live in and the extreme levels of sensitivity that we have sometimes, et cetera. Sometimes you don't want to lean into that, right? And perpetuate that. So I do want to just give a little bit of that other side that like, if you do have it in you, right? And it's just like, I'm tired, but you do have it in you, right? It's best to go ahead and knock it out. So that way you're not worried about kind of revisiting it after it's been away for a while. Okay. So this is by no means for the student that has identified themselves as like, I need a break. Again, if you have done so and you're courageous enough to do that, like kudos to you. Like that's impressive because a lot of people won't do that. But if you're the other person, right, that's just like, you're just kind of being a little whiny right now, just to be a little tired, then it's just like, you're the person that needs to just like, all right, toughen this up. Let's jump back into this and let's get it done. Okay. And, for anybody in those situations, don't get in the whole like indecisive bubble. Like, which one am I? Like, what it is, so don't second guess yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Just really reflect it, write out the pros and the cons, and then, go with what makes the most sense. And then don't think about it anymore, move forward in that approach. So.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I appreciate you mentioning that. And I'm not like chickening out.
That was not targeted
I
to
know.
you.
I'm just letting it be known, like, some of the other students on the call, like I have like a part-time gig that I'm doing aside from the work that I'm doing full time, and I'm trying to like set myself up financially. So I really need to take advantage of this opportunity to earn money financially. But then also I feel like I'm just like so traumatized by the bar exam that I need this time to just heal emotionally. So I took immediately, I'm the one that decided, like, you know what, I'm going to go back in here, but I need to take a break. And February is the opportune time to do that. So let me just, do whatever I got to do during the summer and then get back into it. But I do like fully plan to start studying with the phases that you suggested, and then just go forward, with the private tutoring once that phase 2 comes around. So I'm
Okay.
ready to hit it. I just got to handle a few things.
There we go. I just got to handle a few things and I'm going to be back up in this
Yeah,
thing.
I'll be back in here. But yeah,
So-
no, honestly, like Mamta, that's my sparring partner. Desiree came through too. Like Legally Fit is legit. If you guys haven't signed up for Legally Fit, like you need to do that today. Stop wasting time and stop thinking about it. Like don't run, don't walk, run, don't second guess it. Just handle your business and get to work.
Oh man, there, look, in the lean back. I look, drop the
I
mic.
love y'all.
I appreciate you. I did want to say to you specifically and all those that are interested as well, I do have research projects every now and again that are things that I could use a little help with and keeping up to date with our materials. So it's always a fun way to make a little extra couple funds and study at the same time. So Kendra, if you're interested in that, reach out, and anybody else that's taking a more like, you know, adjusted approach, a long-term approach to this, and you want to do a little bit of like work study with this, reach out and I may have some work for you.
Michelle, I'm gonna hit you up because I
Alright.
done with some stuff for con law that I was ready to update.
There it is. We already got, I know the
Women's test and abortion and all of that.
exactly. Yep. So yeah, that part we have done. So I appreciate that. And but yeah, we got some other stuff that we want to do. We want to do more quizzes and just, you know, all kind of things. So I'll update you on that. But
I'll hit you guys up.
all right, sounds good.
Thank you, Andre.
All right, then what about you, Marlene? I see you're still here. You got your camera on. You got anything else, or you just kind of sitting back and listening?
Just listening to everyone, so I'm good. We reached out, Ellie and I are kind of on the same boat. So we reached out to Monique to schedule something with you. Hopefully you can sit with us for a few minutes and chat with us.
Yeah, so the best bet, I'm not sure if you guys scheduled anything already. Tomorrow, I'm gonna have to jump off pretty quickly after our session, but Wednesday would be a good time to like after the call would be ideal. And if not, we'll figure something out.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay, guys. Well, anybody else want to stick around for a little bit? Because if we're all just here to listen. I think we done listened, and I think it's time to go ahead and get some sleep. Yeah. Watch the Laker game out today, right? What's the score? Anybody got the score update? What's the score?
Oh, let me ask my mom. What's
It's
the score?
68 to 6. Oh, 71 to 61. Lakers are down by 10.
Hey, I don't want to throw off all the good vibes you've been having, but I'm over here for the Warriors. Okay. That's right. We got Marlene up in the Bay Area. Yeah, that's right.
Golden State.
Oh, we got some more Warrior fans in here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Kings. Fallen soldiers.
The beam is not lit, Mamta. Chill out. We're both in Sacramento, so that's why.
There it is. Yeah, that was good though. If it wasn't the Warriors I was playing, I would be in the second round. Sure.
All right, y'all. Good night. Thank you.
Welcome. Have a good
See y'all
one.
soon.